Good evening, I'm John Carter and welcome to Poland Daily. The Court of Justice of the European Union has examined the prejudicial questions of the Polish Supreme Court. The case relates to the legality of the government's reform of the National Council of the Judiciary and its establishment of a new disciplinary chamber of the Supreme Court in Poland. According to a Polish government representative present during the court case, the disciplinary chamber bears all the hallmarks of an independent court.
Supreme Court of Poland doubts whether the new disciplinary board can be considered autonomous and independent, since it is being chosen by the new National Council of the Judiciary, which in turn is chosen by parliamentary majority. Those doubts were manifested today in the form of prejudicial questions forwarded to the European Court of Justice by the Polish Supreme Court. According to the representatives of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the new way the disciplinary board is picked has no influence over its independence.
Since 1989, international courts have not undermined court judgments made in Poland. Unfortunately, Poles cannot feel safe anymore due to the ruined independence of the judiciary. That is what the Court of Justice of the European Union was created for, to check whether any infringements have been made. However, they cannot interfere or create law in EU member states.
Undermining the legality of the National Council of the Judiciary could potentially lead to all of its decisions and rulings being questioned, said the leader of the National Council of the Judiciary, Leszek Mazur, in December. The verdict of the Court of Justice of the European Union will likely be given in a matter of weeks. The Polish Constitutional Tribunal will voice its opinion on the subject on March 25th.
If the European Parliament elections were to take place right now, Conservative Law and Justice Party would have the highest chance of winning. A poll made by CBOS suggests the ruling party would win the elections scheduled for May by a great margin.
42% of respondents expressed their readiness to vote for the Law and Justice Party. The European coalition managed to secure 26% of the votes. The Cookies 15 movement would also enter the European Parliament with 5% of support from the respondents. The new political party led by Robert Biedroń, Wiosna, fell short of the election threshold by just 1%.
Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki and Elżbieta Rafalska, the Minister of Family, Labour and Social Policy, presented details of the expansion of the 500-plus programme for the first child. They stressed that the 500-plus programme is an investment in the future of Poland, not simply a handout. 6.8 million children stand to benefit from the programme.
Frankly speaking, this is the biggest social investment in Poland in the last 30 years, maybe 130 years. We are very happy for this occasion, because in just a few years, this investment will bring enormous returns, such as better education, the better health of our children, better preparation for their professional life. And this is what gives us enormous joy. Our political rivals try to call our program a handout. We call it the biggest investment in the future of Poland, in the future of Polish families.
Z tego programu, w tej wersji, którą przedstawiamy,
This program, in the version we are introducing now, will be used by 6.8 million Polish children. The annual expense, like the Prime Minister said, a very profitable investment with a high return, will be over 41 billion zlotys in a full fiscal year. This year alone, it will be over 31 billion zlotys.
Ponad 31 miliardów złotych.
The investigative division of the Institute of National Remembrance has sent motions to the disciplinary courts to waive the immunity of 7 judges and prosecutors from the communist era accused of wrongful adjudication. They are all due to answer for the unlawful imprisonment of Poles who protested the introduction of martial law in 1981 and the communist system in general.
The case concerns a lawful prosecution according to the criminal law of the Polish People's Republic. It's justice which should have come sooner, but even symbolically, it still needs to be done. The motions to waive immunity concern 3 judges and 4 former prosecutors. Because of their actions, at least 10 people were wrongfully sentenced for oppositional activity during the martial law. It's worth mentioning that among those accused by the prosecution of the Institute of National Remembrance are 2 judges who until recently were the justices of the Supreme Court. One of them served as a judge of the Supreme Court as recently as late last year. Prosecutor Andrzej Pozorski gave examples of illegal actions of the accused judges and prosecutors. The Bydgoszcz military court sentenced a Catholic priest for 3 years and 3 months of prison simply for using inappropriate words during his sermons. Ladies and gentlemen, let me quote the so-called inappropriate words. The party that calls itself the Workers' Party and the country's Prime Minister, currently the head of the military council, ironically called the Council of National Liberation. There were countless examples of wrongful sentences like this during martial law. There are lots of people like this, since this part of our history happened not so long ago, and many of these people prosecuted and oppressed Polish freedom fighters. The motions to waive immunity are the result of an investigation conducted since 2016. The prosecutors of the Institute of National Remembrance are leading over 110 cases regarding the court's crimes.
The new National Conservative President of Brazil, Jair Bolsonaro, is visiting US President Donald Trump in Washington today. The bilateral meeting between the 2 Conservative leaders is likely to result in a breakthrough in US-Brazil relations, as President Trump is suggesting that Brazil should be welcomed as a member of both NATO and the OECD.
The meeting between the 2 presidents is seen as the opening of a new chapter in relations between the US and Latin America. The leadership of Brazil had previously been wary of close relationships with the US, as large parts of Latin America has at times espoused socialist, anti-American views. President Trump stated that those times have passed and that he looks forward to close cooperation with Brazil under Bolsonaro, possibly within the military alliance of NATO.
Well, we're looking at it very strongly. We're very inclined to do that. The relationship that we have right now with Brazil has never been better. I think there was a lot of hostility with other presidents. There's zero hostility with me. And we're going to look at that very, very strongly in terms of whether it's NATO or it's something having to do with alliance. But we have a great alliance with Brazil, better than we've ever had before.
President Trump also stressed that his and Bolsonaro's elections are a symbol of socialism being defeated on both American continents, in a clear jab directed at far-left Democrat politicians such as Bernie Sanders and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, but also the previous but now imprisoned president of Brazil, Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva.
The twilight hour of socialism has arrived in our hemisphere, and hopefully, by the way, it's also arrived, that twilight hour, in our great country, which is doing better than it's ever done economically. The last thing we want in the United States is socialism.
The crisis in Venezuela was another important topic for the 2 anti-socialist presidents. The US, Brazil and Colombia all play important roles in the relief effort to the increasingly poor Venezuelan population living under the socialist regime of Nicholas Maduro, as well as also supporting the democratic opposition in the country. It looks like a close alliance between the US and Brazil is in the making, with the consequences this could have on world politics still difficult to foresee.
Thank you very much for joining us here this evening at Poland Daily. I'm John Carter. Stay tuned after the break for Poland Daily Weather. It's followed by the business, culture, history and the travel.
Good evening, I'm Paulina Otterstein and welcome to Poland Daily Weather. Tonight's temperatures will be from 0 around Olsztyn and up to 4 degrees in the area of Krakow. 3 degrees will be seen in Katowice as well as in Warsaw. And now let's check the forecast for tomorrow in Poland. So the maximum temperature tomorrow will be 12 degrees around Szczecin, 11 degrees will be seen in the western parts, also around Bydgoszcz and Poznań, 9 degrees in the north, and 8 will be the minimum tomorrow in the east part of Poland. It will be quite sunny throughout the whole country, except some showers will appear in the northern parts of the country. And now let's check the upcoming days. On Thursday, the maximum will be 12 degrees in central Poland as well as in the northwest. On Friday, a bit warmer, 16 degrees will be seen in the northwest, 15 in the southwest, and the minimum of 11 in the northeast. And on Saturday, again, a bit cooler, but still it will be nice and warm. 12 degrees will be the maximum in the southern parts of the country. This is all. Thank you and see you soon.
You're watching Poland Daily. Tonight our guest is Maciej Gnyszka and of Business Associations, and we will talk about Brexit, of course. Sir, welcome to the show.
Good evening.
Your members are both from Poland and from United Kingdom.
Yes, of course.
And so you are the person who probably should be asked about these anxieties that are all over the place.
Yeah, we are observing UK Brexiting in and Brexiting out EU, and it is really fascinating to observe. But businessmen are patient, and they UK businessmen, they are seeking connections in Poland especially, because if Theresa May will Brexit totally, will Brexit out, then they will need some connections to the continent, and Poland is a preferred place on the European map. Why? Because our economy is growing very, very fast, and I've been asked many times during the last few months about how to establish a company in Poland, where should I find a co-work or office. So I think that Brexit is paradoxically a very good idea for Poland.
Right, but there are hundreds of thousands of Polish people who live in the United Kingdom. They are purchasing the foods and stuff from Poland. Yeah. This is why we have this export, those Polish shops famous. Britons are also buying in those shops, and moreover there are dozens of thousands of Polish businessmen who run their businesses using the connection and knowledge of both countries. What will happen to that?
Nobody knows that. I think that even Theresa May doesn't know what will happen, and also I think that Donald Tusk doesn't know what will happen. But I think that as far as I'm concerned, and I talked to businessmen from UK. They are patient. They know that whatever happens, they will find a solution to those political problems, because thanks to EU, they have they know Polish quality of food, they know Polish quality of work, and they love it. And because of the fact that they love it, they will do everything to not to lose those things. So I think that even if UK would improve hard Brexit, UK and the Polish businessmen will find solutions to manage this complication.
Normally, people who run their businesses, they have perspective of at least a year, preferably 2, 3, 5 years, because the investment cycle and so on. Maybe at minimum, they would like to know what will happen 3 months from now.
Yeah.
Now we are 2 weeks from the Brexit, and we don't know
nothing. We know nothing. The president of London Business Association, Rafał Kupis, he told me that on June, he and his family, after 18 years in UK, they will go back to Poland. But his business, his LTD company, will still operate in UK, and he will lead it from Poland, and once a month he will come with a plane to London to look after his business. So if such person like Rafał, who is a father of four and he's very prudent man, if he's patient, then I am patient as well.
Okay, so because the geographically United Kingdom or Britain cannot sail away from Europe.
Yeah. Of course, and it is only 1.5 hours by plane, so it is really easier to fly to London than to ride from Warsaw to Katowice.
There are people who are looking at it from the perspective of mutual trade, and Britain has a negative trade with most of the countries of the European Union. We have very positive bonus with UK, and obviously it's like our business to keep UK within the common market,
of course,
because we will lose a huge customer.
Yeah, but we can't say that everything would be stopped, because in everyday routine you can establish bilateral connection. Bilateral business connection between countries, such as between Poland and Switzerland. For example, we have a business association in Zurich, and we thought that it would be really hard to cooperate with Switzerland because they are not in EU, but the difference between, for instance, with cooperating with UK or Pilno, then in comparison to Zurich, it's not a huge difference. Yeah, making an invoice is not many times harder than an invoice to UK. So I think that Britons are rational players, and they also know what they gain from our economy, and even after Brexit, it will be okay.
Those are the crucial days, the most crazy days in world or European politics I've ever seen.
Yeah, but I think we can cite this saying: "Keep calm and carry on."
Okay, sir, thank you very much, Maciej Gnyszka of Business Associations, the associations that are started in Poland and right now are all over Europe.
Yeah, we can say that.
Yeah, mostly Polish business people are gathering together, but the foreigners who don't speak Polish language are also welcome. As you can see, Maciej Gnyszka speaks English perfectly, and I hope you will be more often to our show. Please share us the stories from all over the Europe. And that was it for today's Poland Daily Business.
Good evening, I'm Paulina Otterstein and welcome to Poland Daily Weather. Tomorrow in Poland, the maximum temperature will be 12 degrees in Szczecin. The minimum will be 6 degrees around Katowice and 8 degrees will be seen in the eastern parts of the country. Some showers will appear in the north around Olsztyn, also in Gdańsk, Koszalin and Szczecin, but the rest should remain dry and sunny. Now let's check the forecast in Europe for tomorrow. The north will be quite a bit warmer than it was yesterday, 7 degrees in Stockholm with some snow, 8 degrees in Helsinki with snow as well, and 6 degrees will be seen in Oslo. The maximum temperature tomorrow in Europe will be 20 degrees in the Athens and 19 degrees in Lisbon, Portugal. This is all for tonight. Thank you and see you soon.
Martyna Ciok is a graduate of the Ostrołęka Music School, where she studied violin, and the Frederick Chopin Music School in Warsaw, where she studied voice. She was a finalist in the television program Śpiewaj I walcz, or Sing and Fight, and in 2010 appeared at the 47th Annual Polish Song Festival in Opole. Ms. Ciok also participated in the Voice of Poland program as a member of Andrzej Piaseczny's team and was a semi-finalist in the 9th edition of Mam Talent, or Poland's Got Talent. She also appeared with various artists from the Polish music scene, including Krystyna Prońko, Grzegorz Skawiński and Doda, for whom she was a backup singer on the track Bad Girls in the Polish language version. She has been working on material for her own album to be released on Delphi Record. A few months ago, a promotional single was released showcasing her original work.
Welcome to Poland Daily Culture. On today's episode, I will be talking to a young singer named Martyna Ciok, who is just releasing her first album soon. Hello, Martyna, and welcome to Poland Daily Culture.
Hello.
So my first question will be, how did your career begin? How old were you when it started?
W ogóle z muzyką zaczęła się przygoda od skrzypiec, więc miałam...
In general, my music adventure began when I was a little girl, when I was 7 years old. I started to play violin. The vocal appeared later and actually by coincidence. So I was 12, maybe 13 when I started singing. I started with solo singing, so opera singing, and now I'm doing a master's degree in stage vocalism, so it all went this way.
Już robię magistra z wokalistyki estradowej, więc jakby w tę stronę to poszło.
How is it different to sing at an opera or to sing with an opera voice and to be a pop singer, let's say?
No, różnica jest znacząca. Przede wszystkim
The difference is significant, mainly in another voice emission. So this is a completely different voice emission, and this is the opera repertoire. These are typically arias, different voice adjustments. And here we have a typical pop repertoire. We can say a more commercial one.
Repertuar typowo popowy, bardziej można powiedzieć komercyjny.
And what is harder in your opinion?
Nie wiem, które jest trudniejsze.
Honestly, I don't know which one is more difficult. For me, it would be more difficult to sing opera now. However, if we separate these two, I think that the difficulty is similar. But these are two different things, so it's hard to answer this question.
Odpowiedzieć na to pytanie.
And when you started playing the violin, was it your decision or did your parents encourage you to do so?
W ogóle jakby przygoda z muzyką zaczęła się od tańca. Jak miałam 4 lata, babcia zaprowadziła mnie.
My music adventure began when I was 4. My grandma took me to a folk dance lesson, so I've been dancing a folk type of dance for 12 years. And later, it all started because of my parents who took me to the music school. I was supposed to learn to play piano, but I wanted to play violin ever since I saw it for the first time. And it all started like that. I fell in love with this instrument, but I wasn't good enough to continue my adventure with violin. And then I started to like singing, but it happened by accident.
Obój, który z kolei mi się nie podobał i przez przypadek wyszedł wokal.
And how old were you when your first experience on stage was?
Był to rok chyba 2010 i to był pierwszy taki, można powiedzieć...
As far as I remember, it was 2010. This was my first music program in Poland. It wasn't that well-known program. It was called Śpiewaj i tańcz, English Sing and Dance. The performances were judged by Krystyna Prońko, Marek Kościkiewicz, and the Swedish music producer Mark Teisper. The winner of the program got a chance to sing in the music show Opole 2010. I was performing there, so that was a beginning for me. But live programs every week were more intensive to my career, I would say. Opole 2010 was of course also a live show. That's where it all started. A year later, I took part in The Voice of Poland. I was in the team of the Polish singer Andrzej Piaseczny, so the beginning of my career was quite intensive.
To tak się zaczęło, później rok później jeszcze był The Voice of Poland w drużynie Andrzeja Piasecznego. Początki były dość intensywne.
What was it like to be in The Voice of Poland? Because it's one of the most famous programs in Poland, music programs.
The Voice of Poland było świetnym programem.
The Voice of Poland was a great music competition. It was typically a music show because contestants were vocalists only. And I think that it's the most valuable music competition for singers in Poland. It was awesome, it gave me great memories and an amazing experience. But the fact that there are singing battles and someone has to lose is very sad. But that's what this show is about, to find the best singer.
Taka formuła programu.
Did it help you in your future career?
Oczywiście, tak, pomogło zdecydowanie.
Of course, it definitely helped me a lot. After The Voice, I started working with, for example, the National Philharmonic, which was maybe less commercial, but the repertoire was definitely more ambitious. I still work with the Philharmonic. We have concerts all over Poland. In our repertoire, we have, for example, Osiecka, Niemen, Bem, Prońko, so very famous Polish artists. So like I said, The Voice helped me a lot.
Więc zdecydowanie bardzo dużo dał mi program.
Since 2012, Martyna has worked at the National Philharmonic in Warsaw. In June of 2017, she earned a degree in vocal performance at the Baczewicz Music Academy in Łódź, where she continues to work under her advisor, Dr. Anna Kamalska. In June of 2019, she will defend her advanced degree in vocal studies. Currently, she is working at the Scena Art Center in Sulejówek, where she teaches adult, young and children's voice courses, and she conducts seminars throughout the country.
Czego chcesz? Skąd masz czas? Dokąd biegniesz? Czego szukasz? Bawisz się? Umiesz pić? Czasem szepniesz coś do ucha. W samotności, w ciągłym pędzie nie odkrywasz nic nowego. Zatracony, oszukany, pytasz mnie, dlaczego? Nie pamiętam, ile razy zapewniałeś, że mnie kochasz. Nie pamiętam, ile razy udawałeś, że mnie słuchasz. Dziś pamiętam, dużo czasu poświęciłam, aby przegrać. Uwierz, nigdy już nie będę czekać.
Do you have any plans to be in another program like this in the future?
Myślę, że nie, że programów już wystarczy jeszcze
I
zaliczyć.
don't think so. I think I'm not gonna take part in any other music competitions. I also took part in the Polish version of the Got Talent series a year ago. I got to the semifinals, so I showed up again, and it's enough for me. Now I want to work on my own music. My first single has just been released, so you're more than welcome to check it out. Now we're working on our original album.
Natomiast pracujemy dalej nad autorskim teraz programem.
Just a program about you and your career?
Nie.
No, we're working on our original material, original album.
Płytą.
And when will it be released? Or what is the plan?
Liczę na to, że płyta będzie gotowa w tym roku.
I hope that the album will be ready this year, but I have a lot of different things going on, and I'm not sure if I can do everything, but I hope that my CD will be released this year.
Ale mam nadzieję, że płyta ukaże się w tym roku.
Any collaborations on that CD as well, or is it only your songs?
Nie, tylko
No, only my own compositions and my solo album.
płyta solowa.
Thank you and good luck.
Dziękuję bardzo.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Poland Daily History. Today we will speak with Mr. Piotr Jegliński, a member of a prominent Polish patriotic family. From the 1970s, he participated in the anti-communist dissident movement. Having started his own publishing house in Paris, he is responsible for smuggling forbidden literature back to the then communist-occupied Poland. Today, we will ask him about his life and struggle for a free Poland. We know that you come from a very rather distinguished family, and I was wondering if there are any prominent, colorful figures within the history of time that you can fill us in about.
Muszę zacząć, mówiąc o mojej rodzinie, od takiej refleksji. Moja mama w zeszłym roku...
Speaking about my family, I must begin with an anecdote. A year and a half ago, my mother received a medal from the Polish Republic for her contribution in the Warsaw Uprising and service to the country.
Działalność w Powstaniu Warszawskim i służbie Polsce. I zaraz potem
Shortly after, we travelled to the Warsaw Powązki Cemetery, and on our way out, we stopped by the grave of her uncle, Colonel Adam Korwin-Sokołowski.
Wracając, wychodząc, szliśmy aleją i poszliśmy na grób jej wuja, pułkownika Adama Korwin-Sokołowskiego. I mama się tak zamyśliła.
Mum lost herself in her thoughts as she laid a candle, while I went off for a moment. Suddenly, I heard a scream, so I ran towards my mother. Only later did I find out that the man who was interviewing my mother had asked her.
Słyszałem jakiś krzyk nagle, no więc podbiegłem, a ten pan zadał jej pytanie, czy pani nie żałuje tego wszystkiego, co pani robiła?
His question was, don't you regret all those things you have done over the years? You were being persecuted by the security services, visited by the same group who murdered priest Jerzy Popiełuszko. You were abused, a victim of raids and searches.
Kiszczak panią przesłuchiwał i inni. Czy pani tego nie żałuje? A mama nagle tak jakby się ocknęła z takiego letargu.
Czesław Kiszczak himself, the feared Minister of Interior in communist-ruled Poland, interrogated you. Don't you regret all of that? My mother, as if she snapped out of confusion, suddenly screamed at him. I am the 6th generation fighting for the independence of this country, and he is the 7th, she shouted, pointing at me. This moment was the embodiment of the very essence, as well as the importance of tradition in my mother's life. I wish I could say the same about my father. He did, however, pass away suddenly soon after I turned 18. My father's family was also distinguished. They fought in the uprisings. My father's aunt, so my grandfather's sister, was a chief of a hospital at Dąbrowski Square. Her name was Dr. Joanna Jeglińska-Piekarska.
Wywiesić flagę Czerwonego Krzyża, Niemcy zbombardowali szpital. Zginęła. Wcześniej, w czasie okupacji.
When she ordered to fly a Red Cross flag, the Germans bombed the hospital. She died that day. Earlier, during occupation, her doctor's office was a front for the Cichociemni, or the Silent Unseen, elite special operations paratroops of the Polish army in exile. A great number of people were transported through her apartment as transit to go somewhere else. Many of my forefathers fought in the 19th century in the January uprising. After that uprising, our family lost all their assets. It was confiscated.
Majątek został skonfiskowany. Moja babcia była chrzczona na Kaukazie, ponieważ
my grandmother was baptized in the Caucasian mountains as the family was sent there as punishment. My great-grandfather, whose picture must be somewhere around here, was a major of the Polish armed forces in the November uprising. His father, Wincenty Korwin-Sokołowski, was a colonel in the French army. He fought by Napoleon's side in the early 19th century. He married a French woman. I often humorously say that she was his trophy from Corsica and later died in the Battle of Pultusk. Only his arm was found and identified, as he had his ring on his finger. Meanwhile, his brother Antoni died in the Battle of Samosierra. We could go even further. In the 16th century, on the side of my mother's father, we had a notable writer and political thinker.
W XVI wieku wybitnego pisarza i myśliciela politycznego Stanisława Oksza-Orzechowskiego.
Stanisław Oksza-Orzechowski. He was the secretary of King Sigismund Augustus. Each generation contributed and passed on something to the next one. I remember our parents telling us these stories about the olden times and achievements of our ancestors. As I mentioned before, my uncle who returned from emigration, my grandmother, those were the generations that linked us to the 19th century.
Który powrócił z emigracji, moja babcia. To były te pokolenia, które nas łączyły z XIX wiekiem.
So you mentioned that you also have family members that are prominent figures on the eastern side of Poland, and I was wondering if you can go a little bit deeper into that.
Część rodziny, właśnie rodzina mojego dziadka, Michała Ludwika Okrza-Orzechowskiego, pochodziła z rejonów Polski.
Parts of my family, precisely speaking, the family of my grandfather, Michał Ludwik Okrza-Orzechowski, originated from areas of Poland as known before the first partition of Poland. Those were areas located about 100 kilometers away from Kamieniec-Podolski. My grandfather endured a war. He joined General Jegliński's army, which was created in the eastern borderlands and comprised of Poles living there. He marched through Bessarabia with this 6th Regiment, fighting to protect Lwów. During this revolution, after the Bishop of Kamieniec-Podolski fled,
6. Pułkiem przez Bessarabię walczył w obronie Lwowa. Jego brat,
my grandfather's half-brother was appointed bishop by a secret emissary of the Pope. He also became a secret Monsignor of His Holiness. His name was Jan Świderski. He would often travel between Poland and his Kamieniec diocese. He was once captured by the NKVD and severely beaten. Nonetheless, he did manage to flee. The second time round, he was not as lucky. As he was crossing the border, he was captured by the NKVD again and was sentenced to death during the Moscow trials as a part of the Great Purges. This death sentence was later changed to a life sentence and he was sent to the Solowiecki Islands. That was a horrible punishment, as people would not usually return from there. In the meantime, his family fought for his release. My grandmother would meet with a papal diplomat, Ambrogio Ratti, who would go on to become a pope and take the name of Pius XI. She asked for the Vatican to intervene. The soon-to-be pope offered freedom of some incarcerated communists in exchange for her half-brother's freedom. This had no effect, and so one day my grandmother met Miss Peszkova in Capri. She was a delegate of the Swiss Red Cross in the Soviets. At the time, Stefania Sempołowska was the Polish delegate to the Red Cross, and she handled those communists who were detained in Polish prisons. Miss Peszkova was a girl who ran away from a well-off aristocratic family with a revolutionist named Peszkov. That was his real name, while his pen name was Gorki, widely known as a 5-time nominee for the Nobel Prize in Literature. Meanwhile, Stalin was trying to lure Gorki back to Russia, and so when the writer's wife would visit the country, she was allowed to stay at the Kremlin at the invitation of the Soviet leader. Later on, she told my grandmother how the miracle happened, which undoubtedly was the liberation of priest Jan Świderski, my grandfather's brother, and his secretary, priest Lewicki. Peszkova and Stalin played cards together, and during one game, she asked him what stakes were they playing for. He told her that he was willing to offer whatever he was able to. She ended up winning this game, and as a result, this aforementioned prisoner exchange occurred in 1936, after which Jan Świderski finally returned to Poland.
Sowietów na komunistów w 1936 roku i znalazł się w Polsce.
Mr. Jegliński's family, his personal history, and his activities is a perfect reflection of the generation-long struggle for Polish independence. At times, the resistance against foreign powers were fought with weapons in hand, but in other times, it was conducted with the smuggling of printing press and forbidden literature. That's it for today. I'm your host, Benjamin Lee. I'll see you next time on Poland Daily History.
Hello and welcome to Poland Daily. We're really glad that you've joined us, because without you, there'd be no point in doing this. In this next series of episodes, we're going to be looking around the Warsaw New Town. It's still very old, don't worry. We'll start off at the Hotel Le Regina. After that, we're going to take a walk and see the oldest church in Warsaw. And one of the oldest in the country. We'll get you up to date on the history of the place and talk about a very famous person who once lived right around the corner. That is Madame Curie, the famous scientist. From there, we'll continue back to the Old Town, stopping off at the Barbican. That's the old wall that surrounds the whole area. It's pretty amazing. So if anybody needs any advice on how to build a wall, they might start here. After that, we'll go to a restaurant in the Old Town for some traditional Polish food. And to top things off, the cherry on the cake will be a trip to the largest souvenir shop in Warsaw. Well, you won't want to miss that. So stay with us for adventures in the new town of Warsaw. It's Poland Daily Travel, probably the greatest travel information about Poland in the world. So here we are at the beautiful
Pod Herbami.
Pod Herbami restaurant on Piwna Street in the Old Town in Warsaw. And we are going to have some, traditional Polish dishes? What do we have here?
We've got so many. We've got traditional Polish dumplings, which is nothing but meat or sauerkraut or potatoes with cheese. Inside such a doughy thing, which makes it all called dumplings. Famous all around the world, famous in Poland as well.
Pierogi.
Pierogi, exactly.
You'll know them as pierogi.
Then we have sheep cheese served on apples with cranberry sauce and some oranges to make this combination also very interesting as an appetizer. How about bigos?
What's the name of this cheese in Polish, though?
Oscypek.
Oscypek. And where does it come from? Isn't it from the mountains?
Origins are exactly Polish mountains, where we are having a lot of ships and
Ships or sheep?
Sheep. Well, yes.
You could have ships in the mountains, would it be strange?
This is exactly the thing about pronunciation that I was checking you once again.
Yeah, and once again, I hope I passed the audition.
Yes, you did, hopefully.
Okay, and?
Bigos, very popular Polish Christmas Eve dish. Sauerkraut with sausage, boiled for a long time with spices, and it's served inside a bread, which makes us even want it even more. And these potato pancakes fried on a frying pan with mushroom sauce.
Mushroom sauce.
So this all go as our appetizers.
Bigos is one of the famous ones, though. I mean, one of the most famous. And pierogi and bigos.
Exactly.
But pierogi you get all over the world. It's a dumpling they have in China, didn't they? Maybe they originated even in China.
No, of course, I think that in many places they were invented independently.
Independently. And, but bigos, once again, what's it made of?
So, the sauerkraut, boiled for a long time, sausage, different kinds of meat. Actually, it should include altogether up to 21 ingredients when it comes to the spices, different kinds of meat, peppers, and also the main core of it that we can see.
Okay, well, that was good. You can get the waiter to take it away now, because we don't need to taste it. All we wanted to do was film it and talk about it, because I know nobody's hungry. What?
Yeah.
What? Oh, you want to try some?
I think we ought to try some, yes.
It looks like we shouldn't disturb it.
No, it'll be fine, don't
we
worry.
still pay for it. We don't have to eat it.
No, I think we should eat it.
Why?
Well, I think we should try it. I am
Okay,
hungry.
why don't you take something and try it. Let's try something.
Well, you have some
Pass
cheese.
it around. What is this?
This is the cheese.
Okay, you take some.
Okay.
Take a piece.
I'll take a piece.
Yeah, and we'll have a go. All right, and see how we like it.
With the apple, of course.
And take the apple on there. All right.
I'll take a little of the
Looks very
cranberry
good.
too.
What is that? Cranberries?
Cranberry, yeah.
What's the word for cranberries in Polish?
Żurawina.
Żurawina. Yeah. Okay.
There you go.
Thank you very much. There you go, sir.
Thank you very much.
Try the oscypek.
No, help yourself first.
Yeah, okay. I'll help myself.
Mm-hmm.
stand on ceremony.
Very good.
And take some of this.
Kiwi.
Because I like the Australian
That's
fruit.
a kind
goes
of...
very well with it, I find. And we'll see how that goes.
Yeah.
Bon appetit.
What's it like? Yeah, we'll try it. Yeah.
A little bit of cranberry sauce.
Yeah, why not? Put some on there.
Yes, it's necessary. It's a very popular thing.
Okay.
To have it.
Cranberries are very popular
with
in Poland, aren't they?
Oscypek, so goat, or actually sheep. Cheese.
Very tasty.
Bon appetit.
But this is something they like to eat in the mountains, isn't it?
Yes. Yes.
It's very tasty.
And washed down with some amber liquid. Good old non-alcoholic beer. Okay, so we're back, and we are trying the pierogis, which are very good. What's in them? We had a little before. Potato, isn't it? And this
Mine
one,
goes
anyway.
with meat. Mostly it's, it can be different kinds of meat inside pierogi. Actually, I think that Polish people would be able to put every single thing that is available on planet Earth inside this doughy little tasty piece of food, and we still call it pierogi, dumplings. It can go in salty or sweet versions as well. How about yours, Nicholas?
I've got some spinach, I think.
Oh, spinach with feta cheese or camembert cheese.
Lovely.
That's also a vegetarian version for guests who prefer such. And as long as by a coincidence I found some meat in here, then this is what I'm going to do with it.
You're going to eat it. No. But so there's different things you put in them, but there's a special name for the one they put potatoes in, isn't there?
Ruskie.
Russian pierogi, right? What is it? That's not right?
Pierogi ruskie
in the Russian style?
Have such name because of the land of the state on Poland that was called Ruś. Just like nowadays we are having Belarus, there were different kind of states. Some state was White Rus, there was another Rus, and Rus in Vikings language meant a river, because Vikings explored this area through the rivers, and that's why they called it the land of rivers. And that's why till nowadays we are having some of these areas called some kind of Rus or even Russia. But the Ruskie...
Rus means Viking, right?
Rus in Vikings language means a river.
And what does it mean in Slavic language? Nothing? No.
In Slavic language nowadays we have names of states called some kind of Rus.
That's it, okay.
So in this big Polish 1 million kilometers kingdom, in one of the states called Rus, such pierogis, dumplings were invented, and that's why we called it Ruskie. Because if we wanted to call them Russians, then we would say rosyjskie, but not ruskie. It would be inappropriate in Polish language to call something that's Russian ruskie. No, I should say rosyjskie. But in every single menu, you can find it written ruskie pierogi, which means that it's from a land state of Rus. So let me just check if the second half will be as tasty as the first one.
Yeah.
Yes, probably yes, but I will have to check it again.
Stay with us as we continue with our next course, or with our next appetizers, Poland Daily Travel. We'll be right back. Cheers.
Na zdrowie.
Na zdrowie.
But not na zdarowie, which is Russian, which is po rosyjsku.